Here on Rwanda Television News Tonight for our English News Bulletin. Here's a sneak peek of our edition tonight. U.S. Cardinal Robert Prevost was elected the new leader of the Roman Catholic Church on Thursday, taking the name Pope Leo XIV. The Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Yusuf Murangwa, has presented the budget framework paper for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, revealing that the national budget is projected to exceed 7,030 billion, up from over 5,800 billion allocated in the 2024-2025 fiscal year. On the international scale, the international film industry is raising alarms over Donald Trump's proposal to impose 100% tariffs on foreign-produced movies. Once again, we're glad to have your company tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali, and I bringing you tonight's bulletin is Martina Avera. Let us start off by informing you that U.S. Cardinal Robert Prevost was elected the new leader of the Roman Catholic Church on Thursday, taking the name Pope Leo XIV. After serving as missionary and archbishop in Peru, Prevost presided over one of the most revolutionary reforms of Pope Francis' pontificate for the first time, appointing women to an influential body involved in the nomination of bishops. Prevost, who is 69, has spent most of his career as a missionary in Peru and became a cardinal only in 2023. He has given few media interviews and is a relative unknown on the global stage. The late Francis brought him to the 2023 to serve as the powerful head of the office that vets bishop nominations from around the world, one of the most important jobs in the world. As a result, Prevost enjoyed a prominence going into the conclave that few other cardinals had. Prevost was also twice elected prior general or top leader of the Augustinian religious order founded in the 13th century by Saint Augustine. The order operates in 50 countries and has a special focus on a life of community and equality among its members. Francis clearly had an eye on him for years, moving him from the Augustinian leadership back to Peru in 2014 to serve as the administrator and later Archbishop of Chiclayo. He remained in that position, acquiring Peruvian citizenship in 2015 until the late pontiff brought him to Rome in 2023 to assume the presidency of the Pontifical Commission for Latin America. On Thursday, Prime Minister Dr. Edouard Ngirente received in his office Jean Boucaud, the president of the International Federation of Accountants, who was accompanied by a delegation of senior leaders in the field of accountancy. Among the delegation were Mrs. Keto Kayemba, the outgoing president of the Pan-African Federation of Accountants, Walid Ben Salah, the newly elected president of PAFA, as well as Obadiah Biraro, the president of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Rwanda, and Amin Miramago, the CEO of ICPAR. Their discussions mainly focused on the Africa Congress of Accountants taking place in Kigali and the current state of the accountancy profession, both globally and particularly in Africa. The Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Yusuf Murangwa, has presented the budget framework paper for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, revealing that the national budget is projected to exceed 7,030 billion Rwandan francs, up from over 5,800 billion Rwandan francs allocated in the 2024-2025 fiscal year. We have more coming from Adam Squizera.
While presenting the budget framework paper to both chambers of the parliament, Minister Murangwa noted that the proposed national budget was prepared after a review of key priorities. These include the implementation of the National Strategy for Transformation, NSC2, and also reflecting on strategic investment projects, such as the new Kigali International Airport construction, located in Bugesera district. Minister Murangwa revealed that 2025-2026 budget is projected to increase by over 1,200 billion Rwandan francs compared to the previous year. Our key priorities will be guided by the following strategic directions: implementing the National Strategy for Transformation NST2 and Vision 2050, increasing crop and livestock productivity, promoting private investment, job creation and exports, accelerating industrialization with a focus on manufacturing, leveraging ICT and innovation to enhance service delivery across all sectors, ensuring access to quality healthcare and education, and promoting sustainable graduation from poverty while improving nutrition. The medium-term budget framework for 2025, 2026, 2027 and 2028 projects sustained economic growth, with Rwanda's economy expected to grow by 7.1% in 2025, 7.5% in 2026, 7.4% in 2027 and 7% in 2028. Members of the parliament commended the progress made towards self-reliance. Total resources for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, comprising domestic revenue of 4,105.2 billion Rwandan francs, of which 3,608 billion Rwandan francs is from tax revenue and 477.2 billion Rwandan francs from other revenues. External grants are estimated to be 585.2 billion Rwandan francs, and external loans amounting to 2,151.9 billion Rwandan francs.
Members of the Rwanda National Investment Trust say they are satisfied with how their assets are managed, as well as the fund's consistent annual growth in returns. On their part, the fund's management says that Rwandans are increasingly embracing a culture of saving in order to secure a better future. William Evans Mutabazi reports.
In numbers, members of the Rwanda National Investment Trust grew to over 35,000 members in 2024 from 19,000 members in 2023. Some of these members shared the benefits they've gained since they began working with Rwanda National Investment Trust.
Ni inyungu z'amafaranga tumaze kubona ku mafaranga twashoye muri Rwanda National Investment Trust.
We have gained returns on our initial investments in Rwanda National Investment Trust. When I make comparisons, we are at about 100 million Rwandan francs from the time we started working together. This means that the profits will also bring us more money.
Nazo zongeye kuba ziherwaho habarwa izindi nyungu.
Zirindwi. My initial investment was about 10 million Rwandan francs, or slightly above. From then to now, I have made profits of over 7 million. In 2024, the Rwanda National Investment Trust collected over 17 billion Rwandan francs in savings, up from 12 billion in 2023. The fund's executive chief officer, Dr. Jonathan, noted that during this second phase of the National Strategy for Transformation, NST2, they aim to increase membership. Our target is to double the number of savings membership in the next 5 years, and this means you must also aim at saving times 5 your current savings. In 2024, the return for members of the Rwanda National Investment Trust, Iterambere Fund, reached 11.78%, up from 11.55% in 2023. The fund has also removed the 1% fee that was previously charged to members who chose to withdraw from the fund for personal reasons. William Evans, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Williams, for that report. Now, on Thursday, public transport companies in Rwanda began operating electric buses for passengers who travel outside the city of Kigali. These companies say using these buses will reduce their fuel expenses by at least 40% on diesel and petrol. We have more on this report.
The first public trip using electric buses to a province departed from Nyabugogo in Kigali and headed to Muhanga in the southern province of Rwanda. Chiza John, one of the passengers on this trip, said he found electric buses to be quite different from those that use fuel.
The biggest advantage of our buses is that they are purely electric, 100% electric buses. So no diesel, no fumes. Number one thing that we aim for is protect our environment, our climate. Our buses have the capacity to evade 30 tons of carbon dioxide a year per bus. So that is quite a big number towards saving the future of this planet and starting here at home in Rwanda. The other advantages of it is our paid model that we use with our operators, bus transporters. We avert the need for them to have a high cost in the beginning. These buses are more expensive than diesel buses, but the way our model works, we allow them to pay a small security fee, and the rest we give them the bus and they go and work and pay as they work. Literally, paid stands for pay as you drive.
Initially, Volcano Express will operate 9 electric buses on different routes. Dr. Igabe Ejid, the director of the company, said that using electric buses come with many benefits.
As a citizen of Rwanda, the first benefit is that we are not polluting our own environment. This is our environment. The government always tells us to protect it, but we have to be part of this protection journey. So as transporters, we are the first who are polluting the environment with our buses, with our vehicles around. Volcano has been here for 25 years. So it is, we don't have to wait that anyone else reminds us that we have to start also protecting the environment with the electric buses. Buying diesel, as you can see, the diesel prices keeps going high because of heavy cost of importing it. We don't have control on the dollar. The government tried to store diesel for us, so they keep giving subsidies. But it is also us as transporters to think the other side of green that can save the money that we spend on the transport. So the first cost is diesel. That is the highest cost of every transporter. It accounts about 40% of all our costs. So when you use electric, you save about 60% of the money. If for example, you are collecting 100 in revenue, you are saving 60 when you use electricity, because electricity in Rwanda is very cheap compared to other countries. It is an advantage that we have, so we have to take advantage of it. That is the first importance of these electric buses.
In Rwanda, these electric buses are supplied by Besico, a company focused on sustainable and environmentally friendly transport solutions across Africa. Its CEO, Jit Bhattacharya, expressed great satisfaction in partnering with Rwanda.
Rwanda is one of the most incredible places for us to be introducing this technology and for us to be making the transition to electric buses. Here in East Africa and countries like Rwanda, we have some of the cleanest electricity in the world. Right now, 58% of Rwanda's electricity comes from clean, renewable energy sources. As a result, when we change one of the diesel buses, whether it's in Kigali, whether it is upcountry, from diesel over to electric, we have the chance to mitigate 30 tons of CO2 emissions per year. This has dramatic impact on climate change. At the same time, what we're able to do is bring in modern, clean electric buses that are not polluting the air and that are providing a state-of-the-art public transport experience for all the passengers who rely on them every single day here in Rwanda. It is so exciting. We have seen this over the last few years here in Rwanda. When the price of diesel rises, it puts a lot of pressure on the fares for passengers. And we know this is such an important daily activity. We need to keep the prices low. With electric is much more affordable and much more competitive than diesel buses. The one challenge we have with electric bus technology still is the upfront cost. Now, the government of Rwanda has done a fantastic job. Rwanda is leading Africa in terms of creating policies to help promote and accelerate the adoption of this technology to help make it more affordable. The second tool that we have is through the Basigo's pay-as-you-drive model. Through the pay-as-you-drive model, what we're able to do is offer these electric buses for an affordable lease rather than for a very expensive purchase. This is allowing this technology to now be adopted by the bus operators across Rwanda, both in the city of Kigali, and now we're so thrilled after today to be able to offer these products to upcountry bus operators as well.
So far, 24 electric buses are operating in Rwanda on various routes. The target is to reach 100 electric buses by the end of 2025. Rwanda and Kenya are currently the only countries in Africa operating electric buses for provincial tours beyond major urban areas.
The Ministry of Education has commended the progress made by students enrolled in technical and vocational education and training, also known as TVET, as they put into practice what they have learned. This was emphasized during the ongoing skills competition known as the RP Skills Challenge 2025, held here in Kigali. We have more of this report.
The 30 students who are participating in the competition are specializing in welding, construction, including aesthetics and design, industrial electrical installation, modern tailoring, and industrial automation. Young students in lower academic years studying technical and vocational skills shared that they learned a lot from the competition. Dr. Sylvie Mucho, the Vice-Chancellor of Rwanda Polytechnic, noted that the way these competitions are organized also benefits younger students in lower academic years.
These students or these graduates have the skill set required to solve challenges in the society, to solve industrial challenges, but also to be productive in any industry setting. The visit of the students, we have got visitors from high schools. These include also technical secondary schools. And we have also got the visits from our students, first-year students in all Rwanda Polytechnic colleges. So for the high school students, it shows the career prospects in technical education, from technical education, and it shows how these are actually skills that are needed in the society of today. And it also shows the future skills. When we are talking about industrial automation, students have kind of the ability to see in real time what this means.
The Minister of Education, Joseph Nsengimana, commended the progress made by these students pursuing technical and vocational studies.
We want to make sure that the students are not only learning this from a theory perspective, but they're also learning how to actually implement or actually design in their product. So what you saw inside is the fact that the students have demonstrated that what they've learned, they can actually put that in practice. So we are encouraged by that, and we have asked the school to do this more often so that they give more students an opportunity to actually apply what they've learned in the classroom.
This competition could serve as an opportunity for employment, as those who perform well may attract the attention of industry employers. The top performers will also receive awards during their university graduation ceremony, scheduled for May 29, 2025, to be held at Rwanda Polytechnic in Kigali.
President of the Pan-African Federation of Accountants, CPA Keto Kayemba, has called on accountants across the continent to recognize the critical role they play in driving Africa's progress when they carry out their duties with integrity and diligence. She sat down with our colleague Enora Gladys in an exclusive interview. Take a look.
The 8th Africa Congress of Accountants is now being hosted in Rwanda, but is coming close to an end. We are sitting down with the president of the PAFA, Pan-African Federation of Accountants. How are you, Ms. Keta?
Oh, quite good, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll be straightforward to my questions. What did you expect from the Congress, and what did you get from it and the delegates, of course?
Okay. At the Congress, we expected to have over 1,500 delegates from across Africa and across the world, with over 50 speakers to come in and share experiences, share knowledge, share current trends, share what's happening in the accounting profession now and what they have been doing over the last 2 years. We also expected to come and showcase what we want for the coming 2 years, what we are going to emphasize on, and how we are going to move.
Specifically on inclusion and gender equity, the pre-Congress forum focused on women in accountancy. What commitments or outcomes came from that conversation? Do you believe it sparked meaningful momentum?
It was a very, very successful forum. it exceeded our expectations. We do not have sufficient women in leadership, in accounting. So we wanted to let the women see the women within accounting, experience it, that there is space for the woman in the profession, and the woman should not be afraid, and all the barriers and challenges that women have as they pursue their careers, we exposed them and shared. And those women who have studied women gender issues and who are acting on that field came out to tell us the issues therein and how we should break those barriers. We also had lessons from practical women who are running big institutions, who gave in their experiences as to how they got to where they were and the preconceived ideas that they had, how they broke those challenges and moved on further. Just being afraid, just taking the challenge, trying to balance womanhood, motherhood, and the career. Not giving up on your career, knowing that you can try to balance the two. It's difficult, and then asking all women to act together, to support one another, to share experiences, to hold people's hands, to mentor other women, such that we have more women coming out and being able to lead in accountancy.
Sure. And how do we intend to ensure gender and youth inclusion remain a consistent priority in future professional gatherings?
We formed the Forum for Women in the last ACOA, which we held in Burkina Faso. And I think what happened in this ACOA now, we are seeing it taking shape. And it was such a successful forum. The women now identify with it. And we have gotten funding from the Uganda Development Bank that we are going to use to push forward this forum. So we are going to the forum is forming a steering committee, having a board, having activities, probably setting out a structure, strategies, such that we can follow through. Definitely in all ACOAs, after this ACOA, it is very, very clear that the women and youth question must be brought to the plenary. Not just as a side event, as a pre-event, but it must be one of the things that must be discussed, because the issue of gender affects both, practically all of us. It affects, somebody asked, if you know you are born of a woman, can you stand up? It's the whole, all of us. It's not just that I'm the woman, but I bear children, some of those children are male, how they need to know how to interact and how they're affecting the other sex in the workplace.
What should we expect, the outgoing president of the Pan-African Federation of Accountants, and we already welcome the incoming president, who is Mr. Wilder Ben Salah. What should we expect to the new mandate of the president of PAFA and the improvement of the accountants in Africa?
The beauty about PAFA, the secretariat of PAFA is more or less managed by the vice president. So Mr. Walid has been vice president for 2 years. So he has laid out his mandate. He's laid out what he wants to do. You heard our slogan for the next 2 years. It is unite, transform, and thrive. Unite, because Africa must unite, the profession must unite. Transform, think through it and see what you can do about your profession and use it to make Africa thrive. So that's what is driving the strategies in the next 2 years. So he will use that through the Secretariat to develop capacities to ensure that our members, who are the professional accountancy organizations like ICPA, build onto that. We have issues of sustainability, we have issues of digital transformation, we have issues of women. All these are coming in, and he has to look at all that and guide the Secretariat with his board through that.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mrs. President, and we wish you a good luck on the new appointments that is going to be coming next time.
Thank you.
Yes, this truly shows a good future and a good impact for the accountants in Africa for the coming days.
On May 8, 2025, in Osaka, Japan, the Embassy of Rwanda led a commemoration of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Held at the National Hall, the event brought together Rwandans, diplomats, Japanese government officials, and friends of Rwanda to reflect, remember, and reaffirm a shared commitment to justice and unity. Although Rwanda formally commemorates the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi each year on the 7th of April, the remembrance continues through July 4th, marking the day the genocide was stopped by the Rwanda Patriotic Army. In his address, the Rwandan ambassador reminded attendees that the genocide against the Tutsi was not a spontaneous eruption of violence, but a calculated and ideologically driven crime rooted in a long history of colonial and post-independence discrimination. The ambassador emphasized the role of the new government established after the genocide, founded on principles of unity, justice, and the powerful national identity captured in the words Ndi Umunyarwanda, meaning I am Rwandan. Attendees heard testimonies, including that of Mr. Irakoze, a genocide survivor and author whose journey from horror to healing offered a reflection on the resilience of the human spirit. The ceremony closed with gratitude for those who stood in solidarity and with a renewed pledge to educate, remember, and build a future grounded in peace.
Nyiri muto arababwiraga data bati ntabwo wagira umukamo mwinshi utunze inka imwe, ariko nigeze acika intege. Mama akinjira mu bucuruzi hari abamubwiraga bati ntabwo watera imbere udakorera mu iduka rigezweho, ariko ntibyamusubije inyuma, yakoranaga umwete. Njye muri kaminuza hari abanshidikanyagaho bavuga ko nashobora kaminuza naturuka mu muryango wifashije, ariko byarangiye nanditse amateka mashya. Igihe cyo gutera ishema umuryango wanjye kigeze, bamwe bakomeje kumbwira bati ntabwo watera umuryango wawe ibyishimo n'ishema, ariko narabishoboye. Hari abakekaga ko nasigira umurage ukomeye abankomokaho, ariko ubu mfite uruganda rutunganya amata. Banki ya Kigali yabaye umufatanyabikorwa wanjye mu rugendo rwose, inzozi zanjye ziba impamo. Bigereho.
Thank you for sticking with us on RTV News, and a warm welcome back to stories making headlines on the international scene. Heading over to Australia, the international film industry is raising alarms over Donald Trump's proposal to impose 100% tariffs on foreign-produced movies. Australia, in particular, a popular destination for Hollywood productions, thanks to its competitive costs and tax breaks, could be severely affected. The Australian government says it will oppose the levies unequivocally and engage directly with the U.S. to reconsider. Al Jazeera with the details.
Making movies is a $2.5 billion industry in Australia. The federal government offers a 30% rebate for large budget projects to film on Australian shores. US President Donald Trump says incentives like these have decimated locally produced American movies.
We used to do 100 not long ago, 100%. Now we do almost like very little. It's shocking.
It's with that in mind the US President has announced plans to impose a 100% tariff on all foreign-produced films, though it's far from clear how such a tariff would work. Australia is a favoured destination for international film projects, often nicknamed Hollywood Down Under. The federal government says this US tariff could have far-reaching implications, and it plans to fight back.
We obviously will be pressing our view about this to the US administration, but I do welcome the fact that the President has indicated he's going to engage with the studios about it. We want to be able to see films where you get both Aussie actors and American studios working together.
Screen Australia says nearly half of its multi-billion-dollar movie industry is from international projects. The Australian Writers Guild says much of the current global movie productions are now a mix of foreign entities, and imposing a tariff would be a challenge.
Disney, Amazon, Netflix, Apple make TV. How do any of them function within national regimes around tax and imports and tariffs when these are global companies with headquarters all over the world?
But Donald Trump says incentives offered by foreign countries to attract American film productions are propaganda and pose a national security threat. Some academics say the problem is in the US, with higher production costs, including labour, causing production companies to shift projects overseas.
I think really what the American industry wants is a tax incentive in the U.S., which we've seen floated today in a bit more detail.
The American film industry has suggested the country needs to boost its own federal tax subsidy to put the US on a more equal footing with foreign countries. The international film community says there's still a lot of uncertainty about Trump's tariff plan and how it will work. China has already vowed to curb the import of Hollywood movies, and this tariff could further undermine America's film industry. Sarah Clark, Al Jazeera, Brisbane.
Victory in Europe Day marked the surrender of Nazi Germany to Allied forces on the 8th of May, 1945. That ended the most devastating war the continent had ever witnessed. Many countries vowed to work towards a shared economic prosperity, hoping that better social conditions would help prevent the spread of radical ideas. But 80 years later, the far right in Europe is on the rise again. Al Jazeera once more.
Ecstatic crowds cheer at the liberation of Europe, the end of a war against fascism that had lasted 6 years. The continent lay in ruins, divided between the advancing Soviet armies and those of the Allies. 20 to 30 million people lost their lives, hundreds of millions more displaced by a conflict triggered in part by the rise of the organized far right. 80 years later, and the legacy of World War II still lingers.
The lesson learned from West Germany, where I grew up, is that the root cause of this is not just an ideology like Nazi Germany, but it is a form of nationalism that we should overcome by building a different political system after World War II to avoid nationalism.
This desire to avoid the mistakes of the past and secure the future prosperity of the continent fueled a need to ensure political and economic stability.
And that led to a series of constellations with regard to how you organize democracy, a social compromise with labor unions, working class, middle class, and business elites came together to create a very cohesive democracy that is now decaying.
Decades later, the far right is again a factor in politics. Once banished to the fringes, radical right politicians have now entered the mainstream in many European countries, voted in by people who feel alienated by the macroeconomics of the European Union and the increase in immigration.
Let's just say radical right-wing politics is clearly on the rise in Europe. In fact, in many countries in Europe, it's now the strongest political force. Hungary has been led by radical right-wing populist politician Viktor Orbán for more than 10 years. years now. The Netherlands, the strongest political party is a radical right-wing populist party. Austria, but even in Germany, the alternative for Germany, it is now the second strongest party, constantly polling above 20%, which has been really inconceivable for many years.
The idea of European unity was created in part to prevent war.
This was an illusion we lived for 70-something years until Russia reminded us that wars are still something that happens on the continent, and we cannot guarantee that focusing on the pressing problems of the 21st century, like climate change and social cohesion and dealing with migration, that this is all the European Union has to address.
8 decades later, after the defeat of Nazi Germany, the unity of the continent is again under threat of war, this time with Russia, as the radical right blames migrants fleeing far-flung wars and climate change for the discontent of Europe.
And that Al Jazeera story marks the end of our bulletin. Before we close off, let's have a recap of our headlines. The U.S. Cardinal Robert Prevost was elected the new leader of the Roman Catholic Church on Thursday, taking the name Pope Leo XIV. The Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Yusuf Murangwa, has presented the budget framework paper for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. On the international scale, the international film industry is raising alarms over Donald Trump's proposal to impose 100% tariffs on foreign-produced movies. And on that note, we've come to the end of tonight's bulletin. On behalf of the news production team as well as the technical team, thank you for sticking with us on RTV News. I who brought you tonight's bulletin is Martina Avera, and until next time, stay safe and have a good night.
byiza kuri mwe mwese mudukurikiye, tubaha ikaze ku makuru y'itengihe mutegurirwa na Meteo Rwanda. Igiye kugezaho nitwa Ugirande.